Hello guys, Winston here. A couple weeks ago when I was making my SpaceX coasters, I was experimenting with oak and basically destroyed $6 of wood before I'd even gotten to the CNC part of the project. In trying to straighten some warped boards, I cracked them along the grain and was left with slabs between 1 to 3 inches wide. I felt bad tossing these pieces in the trash, so I tried to find a way to repurpose them. My original thought was to try and cut something out of these slats, but after brainstorming with a friend, I realized that I kind of liked the aesthetic of the boards as they lay on my Shapeoko. It had sort of a miniature pallet or barn door look. To fix them in this arrangement, I glued them to 2 strips of wood and clamped the whole assembly between some MDF to keep it flat. On the front, I planned to engrave a 2-tone image, probably a silhouette of something that resonated with me, most likely a natural landscape or something West Coast themed. Since I couldn't think of anything particularly iconic on the nature front in the black and white scheme required, I defaulted to a stylized representation of the San Francisco skyline. I found a good looking image on openclipart.org, but upon closer inspection I saw that the details weren't exactly clean. The other skyline vector files I saw were either not in the style I wanted or not free. So I decided to make my own using the first image as a template. I opened up the image in Fusion 360 and sketched over it in one continuous line. Certain internal features like the gaps between the Golden Gate Bridge's cables needed to be added after the fact. I decided that I wanted the city part of my piece to be lighter in color, so I drew line segments around the bottom to turn it into a closed profile. This contour would be pocketed out later to reveal the unburned parts of my oak slats. I oversized this part to make sure that I would get edge-to-edge coverage when cutting. My plan in the CAM process was to pocket as much as I could with a 1/8 inch end mill and trace the details with a 1/32 inch end mill, but as you can see in the CAM preview, this would have left some gaps where the 1/8 inch end mill couldn't go, and where the 1/32 inch end mill wasn't wide enough to reach. My workaround was to create extra contour cuts around my skyline and islands while radially offsetting the end mill. This would push the cutter away from the walls to clear out any remaining bits of stock. To hold my oak canvas to my Shapeoko, I resorted to adhesive work holding. Using a generous amount of double-sided tape, I stuck my boards to the table. Since I had to switch end mills halfway through, I made sure to set my Z0 off a fixed reference surface. Otherwise, I would likely have lost my origin after the first pocketing operation. I started with a 1/8 inch end mill for the majority of the material removal, followed by a 1/32 inch end mill for detailing. I didn't want to go any larger with my end mills because that would apply more stress to my tenuously secured wood. I should also mention that I was using downcut end mills for easier cleanup and to apply extra work holding pressure to my oak boards. Near the edges though, I noticed that the pressure was actually causing the boards to deflect a bit, so I stuck a piece of scrap underneath to support the ends. After my programs had run to completion, I gave my pieces a coat of satin spray poly. I didn't want a glossy finish, preferring a more natural look for the burned wood. I quite like how this piece turned out and I hung it up in my room, but I already have plans to improve on this project. The next version that I make of this will have a wider aspect ratio so my skyline will fill the frame better. I'll also probably use 3 pieces of oak so my horizon is centered on a board, and I'll construct a more supportive subframe so that my boards can be carved with less deflection. But you'll have to wait to see that because that's all I have for this week. This decorative, artistic stuff is beyond my comfort zone. I'll be back with another, more technical, CNC-related project in the next week or two. Thank you all very much for watching.